Hello and welcome to this episode of the Beyond the Apex podcast. Today we are talking about the Chinese Grand Prix, first sprint race of the weekend, and it was actually a banger.
It really was. There's so much to talk about as well in terms of on track and
off track. That's been like in the recent hours, stuff's changed, like massive things in F1. So we're going to head right into it with Red Bull. It was a dominant weekend from Max.
Yeah, exactly. We just watched the replay, didn't we? And we were like, and
he's won.
He's won.
And it's like on the sprint, even when he didn't qualify on pole, I think he was 5th. As soon as he got into the lead, in 10 laps, he made a gap of 9 seconds to Hamilton. It's just on a level that you just can't believe at the moment. It's like even when he makes a tiny error, he just reclaims it. Yeah. And he was just dominant. And Checo did get unlucky with the safety car, but another podium added to the bag. I mean, he's very, very consistent today, this weekend, and doing what he needs to get that seat.
Yeah, exactly. I think we've said it before, we've said it again, you know, he's not always been that, you know, P1, P2 in terms of like the Red Bull kind of 1-2 pairing. He's kind of let Red Bull down in some respects sometimes.
Very much at the end of last season.
Exactly. Yeah. But now I think he is kind of showing that he deserves that seat.
Yeah, so I think it's that kind of risk of losing his seat sparks that we saw that in kind of Valtteri when he was at Merc. Yeah. When someone else was vying for a seat, he kind of upped his game. Yeah. And that's what Red Bull want. Yeah. I mean, they want him as a second guy to Max.
Absolutely.
And also the massive news today that Adrian Newey is departing Red Bull at the end of 2024. Early 2025. This is kind of bigger than I think Lewis leaving Ferrari, in my opinion. It is just everywhere Newey goes, they win.
Yeah.
And the rumour mill is flying. Apparently, Fred's had a kind of a meeting in London. He didn't fly straight to Miami. He went to London to have a meeting with Adrian. Oh, if he goes to Ferrari.
If he goes to Ferrari, I mean, like we said before, he said in his book, his dream is to work with Lewis, work on a Ferrari. Like, hello, the opportunity is there.
Literally, the perfect way to end off his unbelievable career would be winning a championship at Ferrari. Yeah. Bringing championship back to the Tifosi. He's already a motorsport legend, and that would just cement him as the best aerodynamicist of all time, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
And it's just, if Fred Vasseur manages to lure Adrian Newey to Ferrari, I genuinely think, if you told me a year ago today that Fred would have had the only Red Bull win, non-Red Bull win, Lewis Hamilton brought to Ferrari and Adrian Newey brought to Ferrari, I think the Tifosi would have bitten both of their hands off to have that opportunity.
Yeah.
And it's just huge. If he goes to Ferrari, I cannot wait for 2026. Let's just say that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be an incredible season.
Oh my gosh.
So much change. Like even just seeing Lewis in a Ferrari is going to be a bit weird.
It's going to be so strange, but so cool.
That's so cool. In the red suit. Get me that image.
I cannot wait to wake up at 4 a.m. to watch the Australian Grand Prix, to watch Lewis Hamilton's debut.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, moving on to Mercedes, it was actually Hamilton's best result of the year in the sprint race. Obviously, he got P2 in the sprint race, but he then changed the setup for the quali for some reason, out in Q1, and then got P9 in the race, which really, it just wasn't great.
No, it's not what we want to see from him, is it?
No.
I mean, we say it, we've said it before, we'll say it again. I feel like in his mind he's already gone to Ferrari.
Absolutely.
This is just a write-off.
Absolutely. I feel like he is watching the screen, just watching that Ferrari, just with willing eyes going, I cannot wait to race it.
Yeah. Get me there.
But Russell is kind of outclassing at the moment. I mean, we saw it in quality, we saw it in the race. He just has that edge on Hamilton at the moment. When the car isn't to Hamilton's liking, Russell has the edge.
Absolutely, and obviously, like you said, it was the 4th fastest car, kind of. So.
And Russell still managed to get P6.
Yeah. So
fantastic result for him. And I mean, the rumour mill is turning now with Adrian leaving. I mean, apparently Max has got a meeting with Toto after Miami, which, it's just
imagine Red Bulls. This Red Bull just going down into the pan.
Literally, they will go to a midfield team if they lose Adrian and Max.
Oh my gosh, a midfield? They'll be going down to less than that.
Oh my god, it'll be like Williams now.
Yeah.
It'll be I mean, if Max goes to Mercedes, I cannot wait for 2025.
Wow.
In the back of my mind, I doubt it, but who knows? Who knows in F1? Who knows? And
anything can happen.
Anything can happen, and I mean that pace in the car at the moment is just appalling. So, I mean they're going to be hoping for something new in 2026. That's for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. But we'll move on to Ferrari.
It was worse paced than expected. I mean, everyone had them as the second fastest car for sure this weekend. I mean, they had McLaren kind of third, the slow speed corners wouldn't help it, and they had Ferrari to clear kind of second fastest. Yeah. But McLaren had the edge on them, and that was really not expected this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, P4 and P5.
I mean, it's a solid result.
Solid result for them, but like you're saying, I feel like McLaren did actually have that edge on them.
I mean, it would have normally been a good result,
yeah.
but it's having that McLaren in front of them, which kind of, it will make them go, we could have had more there. Because McLaren is going to be kind of their fight for P2 this year, especially if McLaren bringing upgrades in Miami, which I'm very excited about. But especially with the inter-team battling, I mean, we saw it in the sprint, they were really battling each other hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, we've talked about consistency a lot in like Formula E as well, and obviously Formula 1. But consistency, you're talking about P4 and P5 for Ferrari. Yes, McLaren do have the edge because Norris got P2. But then where was Piastri?
Exactly. And I mean, you've got to have that two drivers, and that's where Ferrari is driving at the moment. They have the two drivers that are so kind of close together that they're able to just smack in these P4, P5. Yeah. When a bad result for them is P4, P5,
that's when you know.
That's when you know you're doing quite well.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, it was worse pace than expected, but it was an okay weekend.
Exactly. Yeah, agreed.
Moving on to McLaren. It was sprint race pole for Lando Norris. It's the biggest qualifying margin in the turbo hybrid era.
Wow.
I mean, just give him the championship already. Yeah. I mean, but obviously in the sprint race, Lewis did push him wide. It was fair enough. It was hard racing, but he had unbelievable pace in the actual race. He was outclassing Checo in the Red Bull, which just shows so much for his talent. Yeah. And he was clear P2. And it was just a spectacular race. Yeah,
it was. I couldn't believe it. I think when I saw the graphic of like Lando Norris on the podium, I was like,
what? Yeah. I mean, his quality pace was unbelievable. He out-qualified the car by sure getting P3. Everyone expected him just to drop through the field, but he didn't. He stayed strong, got the P2, which was unbelievable points for the team as well.
And he basically won, like, ignore Max.
Yeah, no, that's what he said after the race. He was doing an interview with Rosberg, and Lando literally says, every time I get P2 behind Max, I count it as a win. Yeah. Because that's all he can count wins at the moment.
Obviously, how's he going to unless Max DNFs?
Exactly, yeah, and Max isn't going to DNF. No. I mean, the one time that he does in Australia, Carlos is there, which is really annoying. Exactly. But I've got my eyes set. He is going to get a win this season. Max can't win the next 18 races.
Oh, he might be able to.
He might be able to. Yeah. He might be able to, but I am holding out hope. And I mean, it's just, he's got to get luck at some point. I mean, Russia still haunts every Lando Norris fan. Yeah. And he has to get a win at some point. He has to. But I mean, moving on to Aston, it was a great quality, and with their horrific strategy after putting Alonso on the softs on the safety car, Alonso managed to come back. P7 was a fantastic result.
Absolutely, and I think we just watched as well from the highlights. Alonso's driving.
Oh my god!
My lord!
Oh my god!
That bit where he went onto the gravel and kind of nearly span, and I don't know how
he's 43 years old.
How did he keep that?
He has the reflexes of a cat.
Yeah, literally. Like me and you would have been like, ah.
Yeah. Oh, we would have been in the wall.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I wouldn't have been able to start the car anyway. But I mean, it was just unbelievable car control. The way that I think he went down to about P15, and in about 10 laps he managed to carve his way to P7. That just shows the racecraft of Alonso. Yes. And I think it was before this race weekend, but he signed a new contract. Yes. And apparently it's the longest contract of his career. So hopefully we'll see him at the front more often.
Yeah, hopefully, exactly.
And then we'll have to talk about the Stroll incident.
Yeah, the Stroll. Obviously going into the back of what, Danny Rick was
Danny Rick. It was just awful. I mean, he was looking at the apex, wasn't seeing that there was a concertina in front of him, and just went into the back of him.
Yeah, it was very clear, like you said, his head turned to the right, and
it was just his fault. And I think he got a 10-second penalty for it, deserved. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's classic Stroll, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it just doesn't show. I don't know how you would not know after the safety car restart. You're going to know there's going to be a concertina.
Exactly.
Like, don't blame the fact that you just didn't brake. On the fact that
it's like saying there's a traffic light and then sorry, I hit the guy in front. I wasn't looking, and there's a concertina. Like,
there's a traffic light. You absolute donut.
Yeah, but I mean, it's classic Stroll.
It is, and but like you said, it was good that he got a 10-second penalty for it, because that is not.
No, it's not. It's not. No. But moving on to Alpine, it is getting better and better by race. It is race on race. It is, but again, it's kind of what we're saying. It's like everyone in front of them are kind of doing badly. But they are. I mean, Ocon got into Q2 again, which was fair play to him. Yeah. But it is. I don't know whether it's just coincidence, but they do seem to be kind of going up race by race. Their race pace is still shocking, but they are able to battle cars now.
It's not like completely horrific.
No, it's
just a little bit less horrific.
a little bit less of a disaster than usual.
Yeah.
But I mean, Ocon clearly just still has an edge on Gasly.
Yeah.
No surprise there. In quality and the race. But they are bringing upgrades, so maybe we'll see some upturn in pace.
Maybe.
Yes, but we'll take a break now and then go on to the second half of the grid.
Right, okay, so let's go on to Williams. Obviously, just no real pace.
No real pace. I mean, last year we would have seen Alex kind of getting up there in quality, but it just seems like the car is struggling to get there nowadays. And there's no real race. They are able to kind of battle the cars ahead, but it seems like they're never able to get lucky.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, it's the lower midfield, isn't it? We're talking about kind of... They're able to battle, but like...
It's not for anything of importance.
No, that's exactly it.
And I mean, you would have seen Alex kind of battling for P11, P10, and he's just kind of sitting there. I mean, he was kind of 5 seconds off of P11. He's kind of behind an Alpine. Like the start of the season, you would not have expected that.
Yeah.
But if we kind of go on to Sargent, he was nowhere, and currently there are rumours. So Kimi Antonelli, who's an F2 driver, 17-year-old kid, looks exactly like Ayrton Senna, wiping up the kind of floor. I think we spoke about him in the earlier podcast. He's done a test in Austria and a test in Imola in the 2022 car, I think, and his times were very, very impressive. For a 17-year-old, his pace was very consistent, and there are rumours that Toto's went to the FIA to try and get approval for a 17-year-old to take over Sargent's seat in Imola.
How embarrassing.
How embarrassing. I mean, Sargent was said to be kind of the next coming. They only had a year in Formula 2 and then they brought him up to Formula 1. If he gets replaced by a 17-year-old kid...
What does he even do from there onwards?
IndyCar.
I was going to say media.
Yeah! Yeah, he's just going to do, like... He's going to drive a safety car.
Yeah, literally. Not even then, though.
Yeah, even then he wouldn't be quick enough.
No!
He'd still spin under safety car and cause a red flag.
Oh,
but, I mean, he would go to IndyCar, I think. But... I mean, it's just not looking good for Sargent. He's just off the pace so much, and he can't keep doing this.
No. Otherwise, it's going to lead to things like that. I mean, there's so many people up and coming that are just you know, the youngsters of the kind of, I don't know, like we're talking about Kimi Antonelli, we talk about Taylor Barnard in Formula E.
Oh my god, yeah. It's just all the youngsters coming through now, and I really do think that if Merck are looking at putting Antonelli in the car for 2025, Toto's going to be vying to have Antonelli in the Williams.
Yeah, I was going to say, what a kind of practice session to bring him up from Williams.
Yeah, because Toto was like, don't even look at the times.
Yeah.
Just use this as test sessions to test in the current gen.
Yeah.
And then he would take that and run, I think. I really do.
I agree, absolutely. Okay, move on to Racing Bulls.
Ricciardo finally looked like he had the edge on Tsunoda.
Yeah, he did. Obviously, we had a few issues, and obviously unlucky for Tsunoda.
Oh, so unlucky. So unlucky with the spin by Magnussen.
Yeah, that wasn't his fault at all.
Oh, absolutely not.
Obviously, I think he got punctured in as well.
Yes, got punctured and he was just out.
He was just out.
Yeah. Unfortunate, but I do think this is going to be an outlier. I really do think that now Tsunoda's just going to come back at Ricciardo, and it's going to be the whitewash that it was at the start of the season.
Yeah.
And as you were saying, kind of before we started recording, I really do think the pressure is going to start mounting on Ricciardo.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot in obviously we talk a lot about rumours, but I've seen a lot on social media, and I think you have too, about Danny Rick being replaced by Liam Lawson.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's definitely on the cards.
Because we have seen it with Nick de Vries. They took him out of the car. He wasn't showing enough pace. They did that. We put Danny Rick in. And if Danny Rick doesn't perform, what's to stop them from putting Liam in?
They have to do the same precedent.
They have to keep the precedent.
They have to. And honestly, when Liam came in the car at the end of last season, Ricciardo got P12 in Hungary. Lawson got points in Singapore.
Yeah.
He came in and just was such on the pace immediately. Yeah. They need to stick him in the car for me. I really do think.
I think so.
Yeah.
But I think Miami is going to be a telling.
Absolutely.
If Ricciardo still performs to the lower level in Miami, then I think
they're
they
going
are
to
going
be
to be having conversations. If they're not even already having them now.
I think they definitely have conversations already.
Yeah.
But it's going to be very telling. The next couple of races for Ricciardo are going to be huge for his career.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we'll move on to Sauber.
Oh my god, the atmosphere when Joe got into Q3 in the sprint was just electric.
Yeah. Pun?
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, he didn't have a great race. I mean, Bottas was out, and then I think Zhou got P14,
P14.
P14, yeah. They had a nice little pedestal for him on the straight because they clearly didn't expect him to get the podium. But I mean, it was nice, but it was very telling. I think he knows that that's his last Chinese Grand Prix.
Yeah.
And I think he was just trying to take it in because obviously we got the news that Hülkenberg has signed for Sauber, and then obviously it's a multi-year contract, so he's going to be signing for Audi, which means that basically Zhou's gone.
Yeah, it does.
Basically, Zhou's gone. If they can't get signs, there's a slither of hope, but I really don't think so.
No,
I think they're going to be going for someone bigger.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
Yeah.
There's other names on the grid that are going to need that spot, and I think that's going to take precedent over.
Absolutely.
But yeah, talking about Hülkenberg, when we were to Haas.
He got a point.
Yeah, like
we keep on talking about this with the new Haas upgrades. They are just their tyre wear problems are solved, and they are now able to just stick in the points. I mean, every single. I think there was a stat I think in the whole of last season, Haas had 4 point scoring finishes.
Yeah.
This year they've had 4 point scoring finishes.
And it's not even halfway through the season, is it? Yeah.
It's 5 races in. They've still got 75% of the season to go.
Christ, yeah.
So I mean, he is just ringing that car and just doing so well. He hasn't had that edge on Magnussen, and obviously now with Hulk leaving, I reckon we could see Behrman coming into this.
I reckon we will. I mean, Behrman's performance in the Ferrari when we saw him just thrown in instead of Sainz. Unbelievable. And it's like we said with Kimi Antonelli, to want to put him in the Williams to then kind of go across.
Yeah.
We're going to want to see him in the Haas before he goes to the Ferrari.
Absolutely. And I really...
Lewis will win his championship. And then...
win one championship and then, stick Behrman in. Behrman Leclerc for the coming years.
Need that.
Yeah, and I do find it funny that Lewis is going to take the headlines. It was first English Ferrari driver since 1990, and then Behrman came in. The 18-year-old came in and stole his seat.
Yeah.
But I really do think Behrman is going to go to Haas. It's going to be like a Charles Leclerc in 2018. He's going to have a year, maybe 3 years, and then go into that Ferrari.
Because he's so young, they've got that
so
time.
young. I mean, he's 18.
Yeah, they've literally got that time to kind of just progress through Haas and then go on.
They can't rush it.
No,
they cannot rush it.
Absolutely.
He isn't a talent like Charles Leclerc where they were he's going to be quick anyway, let's stick with the car. I think he has to get that experience, as you said. He has to get that experience and just evolve the driver before they stick him in the big car.
And I think time will tell with him.
Absolutely.
Every year they'll take it and say, what's the situation, and then obviously go from there.
Yeah, but obviously moving on to Miami this weekend, very exciting. It's another sprint race. It's going to be a much needed break after our landlord exam.
It really is,
But very much looking forward to it, and it's going to be a good one. So thank you very much for watching.